Everyone, and welcome to a new series called What If Civilization Started Over? Now, I have seen many people talk about this, and I see many people made videos about this topic, and they're very interesting. So I just one day, you know what? How about I get into the action with this? That's what I'm gonna do. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to get notified when I release a new video. And with that being said, enjoy the video. Alright, so civilization has started over. We don't know why, but it has. So what's the first country where we located? So let's say in Rome. Some people make a settlement down here in the Roman Peninsula, and they kind of explore the area around it, scavenging resources and all that, until they finally make their own country, which will be the very first country on this map. And as they continue to grow, it could also continue expanding after exploring for a little while more, and they will continue expanding as they keep exploring around the area. Then gets to a point where they don't know where to go because they're so well, to be fair, they're the only civilization here, the only country here, but they'll go ahead and settle for like a few or so years. Now they're up in population quite a bit. So that's when you see them explore land once again. Now reaching the border of this peninsula and reaching a little bit up north even. And now they'll start heading up the coast. Now reaching the other side of the peninsula and continuing their expansions inward along the coast and now inward to the regions. After a few hundred years of exploring, they eventually explore the entirety of the Southern Peninsula and start exploring into Sicily a little bit. Now, up north, they're going to continue exploring all the way up here, as they also continue to expand their territory. Not too much, as they don't want to get people mad, but just enough that they can sustain themselves a little long. And they also start making their way down the peninsula, almost completely over the southern portion of it. And it's just going to be like that for another 200 years until they finally make their way outside of the peninsula. They're gonna send some explorers in both directions just to see what it's like out there. And while the outlines does prevent them from getting too far to get along the coast, they explore quite a bit of the land. And they'll even make an exploration across this ocean and into the Albania, moving down the coast and all the way across here, even a little bit upwards. They will continue their expansion, now going up the peninsula after they fully take over south and start touring Sicily. And as they continue north, they will eventually hit the Alps, and they can't really go any farther than that. So that will halt them for a little bit. So they'll continue exploring this new area that they found until they eventually decide to make a landing here. And now they have a easier country outside the peninsula, which will allow them to expand it a little bit further north and south, and they'll even start trying to connect it as they will explore this area a little bit more. And after they will finally connect up, and Rome will start exploring up. We'll start expanding along the coast, as well as doing conquering Sicily. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for them, as there are some people who say that they should leave Italians, as they say they aren't really being treated the best. Granted, they are being treated pretty well because they're the only people in the world. So, but they're saying that they are going to focus on other parts that they haven't really explored before. Exactly what they're gonna do as they start exploring the coast of France and a little bit into Spain. Even discovered these two islands. Yeah, good for them. And now they're getting pretty big, but that's gonna change as we see this portion of the country that they need to break away and form their own. Now, in this one, they want to focus mainly on their location and not expand where else. They want to settle in one place. Whereas these guys want to be everywhere. They want to be the big ones. No, this new Greek country is gonna continue expanding for a little while. So they're gonna do what Rome did and just do some assimilation and then more expansion after each time. Is it gonna lead them to discovering these islands and a little bit of Sparta? The heroic Grecians all crossed the coastline. I mean, actually into Constantinople. Actually into what is named Constantinople. And even across it. Now they are exploring the continent. So with that comes more expansion. Looking something like this. Now let's take a quick check back on Rome. So they Corsica. And they made a landing in Africa. Okay then. So yeah, Rome has discriminated, but this is the tribal era, so they believe that this is all connected in some way. They believe that there's kind of like an ocean, we water around this, it all connects up. You're kind of right. The Mediterranean does do a little bit of that job, but not that well. They're gonna continue exploring, and then eventually expand once again. Now reaching all the way into Catalonia. Now reaching all the way to Catalonia, and even exploring these islands. Even after a little bit of exploring around this African coastline, they're not gonna go too deep because here's god awful. We will make a landing in this part of Tunisia, and they will also make landing on these 3 islands, allowing them to speed up progress around the coast, connecting up to the main force, and exploring all the way up to here. They will explore a bit outwards until they figure out that there's actually no connection that they thought there was. So they're confused. But they're going to continue expanding anyways. Over back to Greece, they will be expanding quite a bit, while we were focused on Rome. Look more along the peninsula, this island, we'll be exploring Sparta and discovering Crete, where they will obviously expand. Because, see, them and the Romans, they aren't really enemies, but do have a little bit of hatred towards each other. It's a little bit complicated. Now, it looks something like this. And now, there are only 2. Well, let's make it 3. You see, civilization along the civilization along the Suez Canal is gonna appear, and it's gonna be unique because it's gonna be the first one not located in Europe, in fact, in Africa and Asia. They're gonna explore along the coast, find it very valuable here, and we have ourselves our first civilization outside of Europe, and it's these obviously don't know that they exist. They don't know that they exist. So they're just gonna be left on their own for a little bit, and in the meantime, they'll keep exploring along the Nile, and even going past the Suez and into Africa a little bit. They're obviously gonna expand, cause who wouldn't want to do that? But they're more concentrated along the Nile and the coast. So that's gonna say something. They're gonna continue along this river as discovering the rest of the sea of the Sinai, even expanding down and upwards, to then allow them to make part of their country across the canal. And they look like this. Right, so in a few years, and the Greeks and Romans have made a lot more exploration along the Turkish coast. And even a little bit inwards, as they'll both work together to start exploring more of what's inside the continent they're located in, which is Europe. But they don't call it Europe, they call it something different. Though we stopped at the Alps right here, but they're not done yet. Even explore across the peninsula. Go straight here. So they're gonna expand down on the coast a little bit, expanding their territory quite a bit bigger. Africa, they do expand just like the other areas, but they don't explore as far in as. Remind you, the desert. They don't like it, but they will make efforts to try and connect with Earth as you, and they should meet up, which they do. Some people, they go all the way up here, and they end up like this, and they eventually make along the coast. But you see, they don't know how to get back. They're stuck. So they lost all communication to Romans, not like they had much anyways. So they're just gonna fully concentrate on this area. Or they will explore here and into the Germanic lands in the coast, until we see them make a new country, Netherlands and Germany. And now we have 4 countries: Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Germanics. So as all of them keep exploring, they will all keep exploring for a little bit longer, until and the Germanics will explore a little bit. The Romans will too. They'll explore all the way up to this coast, a lot to this area, and along its coast. I need them to actually do a bit of expanding into this area. Eventually, they look something like this. It will also expand. Now, looking something like this. Now looking something like this. And Egypt, we haven't really talked about in a while. They have actually done quite a bit. Even going northwest, and eventually they'll each other. Now all 3 of these countries now have connected to each other. The Egyptians will expand once more. Now looking something like this. We're gonna see a war break out. The Romans are gonna start an invasion of the Greeks, hoping to take back some of their land. The Greeks, they're not weak. They're gonna push them back a little bit. Using their period. No, they won't somehow make a landing across them, allowing them to retreat from a big portion of their coast, and yet being pushed inwards along the coast, nearly reaching where their main capital area is. See, they're gonna surrender. And in our first treaty, they're just gonna take this, which shrinks down a little bit in size, but now they're gonna grow again as they finally make getting across the ocean and into Anatolia. Now, these four civilizations have been going pretty good. We finally land in Crete and explore down into Cyprus. Say that one war that just happened, everything seems to be going perfect. Even the Germanics are even the Dutch. Even the Germanics are exploring, unknowns to the rest of the countries, obviously. Now, map looks something like this, and there isn't really much I can do here other than make a new country. So a group of people from here will decide to go inward, reaching to this very fertile region in Mesopotamia, and so they're just gonna start settling here, and eventually new countries formed along this river. And it's kind of like landlocked country. Now, they will eventually make it to the coast, but for now, they'll just keep expanding along here till they eventually link up with that coast. Now we have 5 countries in the known world. And I am running out of things to say right now, but I'm gonna keep it going for a little bit. Gotta make things interesting, wars here and there, stuff like that. The Egyptians, they're gonna start expanding into, because they do know that this country exists. The rest of the world does. Everyone but Germany knows about the existence of each other. But now, the Romans, they will finally connect up to each other in Africa. Meaning that all of this is in fact connected. Romans, now knowing that they're all connected, are gonna quickly expand into Africa, along with going to cross the strait into Africa. Egypt is just gonna keep doing their thing, it's expanding a little bit, but nothing too big. Now looking like this, they will stop their expansion now to do some assimilation. However, the Greeks, they are not stopping. They're gonna keep expanding inwards till they eventually are forced to stop in order to actually keep the people happy. Because that's very essential for a country. Your people needs to be happy. If they are not, then you're not really going to be a good functioning country. So they're just gonna expand along the coast a little bit. They'll expand upwards. Wounds will actually start expanding inwards a little bit. Look like this. This, not right now. And I think I'll call it quits here in a little bit. Yeah, I'll do it a little bit. So Mesopotamia, they're gonna expand inland, and now expand a bit on the coast, discovering Qatar all the way here, and they'll even start the Persian coast, allowing them to do a little bit of expanding, but not too much, obviously, because they just formed. They're still kind of putting everything together. But they will expand a little bit anyways. In fact, they'll expand, even expand a bit towards Egypt. They're gonna expand south. They're gonna expand everywhere. And they'll start exploring the Nile a little bit more. They continue expanding along their coast and all the way to Libya. They'll explore the terrain a little bit more till they'll finally stop. We haven't talked about Germany in a little while. So they've explored to a little bit of France, and they've explored beyond their lands quite a bit. Denmark even making explorations into Sweden. So they're gonna do exactly that. They'll expand into Denmark a little bit, down into France, and along the coast, beyond Germany a little bit into bits of Poland. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it quits here. If you guys enjoyed this scenario, like I said earlier, make sure to like it the video. You know if I'm whenever I release a new video. And I'll see you all in the next one.